Once more, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever in this vast world you may or may not happen to be. Welcome once more to another live stream of IRL News Time Live, audio only edition. I'm your hostess, Alexandra, and we're going to go ahead and conclude our audio only coverage of something that I believe will be a bit of a turning point when it comes to not only the public perception of Purple's Girl and what's really actually going on with her. It also most likely is going to be a turning point when it comes to Purple's Girl's perception of herself, how her caretaker, Purple, perceives her situation, how her family perceives her situation, how the legal sphere perceives her situation, and how you, the chat, the viewers, her audience, perceive her situation. Now, I do want to emphasize at the beginning of this live stream, I do not have a medical degree. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. I am an independent investigative blogger who happens to have a very interesting mind, which is why at times I'm called upon to look into certain matters. First and foremost, I want to say that today, Nicholas Robinson, aka Nick, who's a public figure, aka Black Pill Moses, aka IBL, whoever he wants to be, today he did something very good, extremely good. Um, I won't say that the young man known as Nick is the best communicator, but he absolutely did communicate to the public something that was a piece of the puzzle when it comes to a few theories and hypotheses in regards to Purple's Girl, a woman who unfortunately Nicholas Robinson crossed paths with, who's been giving him an unjustly very hard time, who has been scapegoating him, and who I have a feeling very shortly will be completely barred from any sort of communication with him or public talk about him. But first, I want to show you all just a very short comment that Nick posted on the Imagine Being a Janny channel. It's so short that the post was only one word, but the one word, and it's not even a word that's in the Webster's dictionary, which is ironic, but it's a word that was a piece of the puzzle that certain people who are observing the situation revolving around Purple's Girl needed. So I'm going to show it to you. There it is. Menopause. Now, earlier today, I didn't know that the word menopause was a word. I didn't know that millennial females, at an alarming rate, actually, are entering perimenopause and menopause incredibly early in their lives. We're talking early 30s. And if I have the energy, at some point this weekend, I will do a video live stream specifically about what I'm talking about today to kind of put a nice little bow around the package. But no need to at this moment. But still, I want all of you to look at that word, Marfanopause. Now, what Nick is referring to is the reality of a syndrome that Purple's Girl does appear to be afflicted with. I wouldn't say that the affliction of Marfan syndrome within her that appears to be there is as extreme as it could be, but as she gets older, the symptoms are going to manifest physically at an increasing rate if she does indeed have Marfan syndrome. And she has told many people over the years that she has Marfan syndrome. This is not out of nowhere. But I suppose before we even go into Marfan syndrome, let's go ahead and do a very quick review of what led us to this point of this particular live stream today, because it's come to, for the most part, we've all come to the conclusion as of today that Purple's girl does not have POTS. She went through perimenopause very early. And unfortunately, a symptom or a side effect of Marfan syndrome is early, premature perimenopause. I actually want to thank two viewers from the chat for their comments that also pointed certain people observing this in the right direction. Let me go ahead and put those up very quickly. I have to enlarge it to be able to see it, though. All right, Hundy Bills responded in regards to a comment, not a comment, but a post that I put on the community or post tab of the IRL News channel a little earlier that we will go over. Hundy Bills responded saying, "Oh, she only has the symptoms that correlate to drug abuse, so she has an excuse to use." So he's talking about her drug abuse, and we'll talk about that a little bit too in relation to her medical issues and why it's basically time for her to go back to Ohio. Whatever family she is that's willing to take her in, it's time for her to go home immediately. Hundy Bills continues to say, Marfan syndrome also causes issues with early menopause. And that, ironically, is what Nick was saying. Nick said it using one word. Hundy Bill said it using a sentence. Then we have another viewer known as Denise, who says, some women never come to terms with menopause and aging. Rather than be proactive in their health, they pretend it's not happening. Those are the women that dress too young for their age and body type. Thank you both for your comments. I do appreciate it. But now we're going to get into the meat of what I want to go over today. And we're going to start with, again, what led us to where we are right now. So earlier today, some people noticed that unfortunately Purple's girl is contending with female pattern hair loss, which is a huge indicator of entering perimenopause early. But it's not just the hair loss that has been observed, it's the other symptoms of perimenopause, namely her extreme mood swings, the irritability. Let's just go ahead and go through everything that we went through earlier today. It does seem that she's facing the hormonal changes. Let's take this banner off here as we go through everything. Just give me a moment. All right, so you see the FPHL, female pattern hair loss, all right? That was one of the things that someone noticed. The AI overview when it comes to hair loss of women in their 30s, it does outline that it's hormonal changes most likely. Okay, then we took a look at the symptoms of menopause, early perimenopause, that a lot of millennials are facing, not only due to genetics, but not taking care of yourself, the substance abuse that runs rampant within the millennial population. But I do want all of you to look at the symptoms of perimenopause and think about Purple's Girls live streams, her behavior, her actions, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. She was claiming that she had a period today, but that's unclear. But she's also often complaining about being too hot, the hot flashes, night sweats, sleep problems, mood changes, including increased irritability. You see how she treats Purple, her caretaker. stress, anxiety, or depression, brain fog, and memory loss. She seems to constantly have memory issues. Fatigue, she has extreme fatigue, changes in her skin and in her hair. We went over earlier about how a growing number of millennials, especially older millennials in their 30s, are experiencing perimenopause pretty early at this stage. There's quite a few YouTube videos from other women who are explaining their own experience with the early perimenopause. Being that she did enter perimenopause, from what we can assess as casual observers, again, we're not medical professionals over here at IRL News Time. We're just pretty intelligent people. But with perimenopause, oftentimes women do tend to have an increased sex drive. We think that that happened around the time of Chicken Andy, her interaction with him, which is likely why she's fixated on him so heavily, made their interaction to be more than it was. She claims that it was the best sex of her life. That's typical for women in that perimenopause state to say, because their hormones have changed, that they were not so sexual before. Oftentimes the perimenopause activates things and they become even hypersexual. And if you do look at her behavior around that time, she went through a lot of guys. Let's very quickly show that chain of events when it came to the various men that she encountered. Just give me one moment to bring up those charts. She went from baked Alaska to being passed off to Chicken Andy to then being passed off to this guy, Nick, who's had a very difficult time getting away from her. And now she's with this guy, Purple, who is basically her caretaker, but who, considering what we're figuring out today, is not taking very good care of her. Because if he really cared about her, he would have not only encouraged her to get back to Ohio for the proper medical attention that she needs, but he also wouldn't allow her to exploit herself. He would encourage her to take her medical issues seriously. He most definitely would encourage her to prioritize her health situation above frivolous legalities. But let's continue. So it occurred to me earlier, hey, this fixation on Chicken Andy likely did occur in tandem with her entering prematurely perimenopause. We went over some of this information earlier. Excuse me. If you would like to take a look at some of these screenshots up close, again, look at the community tab. After perimenopause, quite often a woman's sex drive substantially decreases. So that's what we're seeing within her right now. That's why she appears to have very, very, very minimal libido. She appears to have, excuse me, rejected Purple's advances when it comes to intimacy and whatnot. We're not really going to go into the person known as Wooza today because I don't know if this is true. You're telling me this from an anonymous alt. I don't really know anything about Wooza. I do know that he was in like the same social circle as some of the extremist streamers, but we're not going to go into that today. Okay, so she does seem to be in full-blown menopause at this point. All right. And strangely, it does seem that this could have been prompted, meaning her apparent early menopause, by the Marfan syndrome. So that's where we are right now. That's what we got to talk about at this phase. So again, there's other people who are aware of Purple's Girl over the years claiming that she has Marfan syndrome. Some of you might not know what Marfan syndrome is, but if you don't know, that's okay. I am going to bring up some information so that you can learn what it is. All right, just give me a moment. Here we are. What are the signs of Marfan syndrome? And strangely, the girl on this website, Marfan Foundation, if Purple's girl was healthy, she would look about like that. Even down to the glasses, the way this girl's mouth is shaped, her nose is shaped. Isn't that odd? Isn't that odd? And by the way, Melissa Turds, thank you for suggesting the e-bike. I'm not giving up on the e-scooter just yet. All right. But I saw your post. I hadn't ever looked at your YouTube page until today. And don't feel bad I fell, but thank you for at least noting it and saying what you said. You definitely do seem like a nice person. But anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about. So let's look at the signs of Marfan syndrome, because a lot of people don't know what Marfan syndrome is. But if you don't know what it is, guess what? Now you're going to find out. People are born with Marfan syndrome, but they may not notice any features until later in life. And some of these features can appear at any age. Some people have many characteristics at birth, such as young children. Other people develop aortic enlargement as teens or even adults. Some features are progressive, meaning they can get worse as people age. And as we know, Purple's girl, she's in denial about getting older. I mean, chronologically, she is in her 30s, but physically, she's a lot more so along the lines, from my perspective, she's more along the lines of a woman in her 50s. I'm sorry, but that's just where it is, because she's not taking care of herself. Between the health issues, the substance abuse, some other factors, it's looking pretty grim. So let's look at this. Symptoms and causes. Let's see. The two main features of Marfan syndrome are aortic root aneurysm, widening or bulging of your aorta near your aortic valve, and dislocated eyelids, ectopia lentis. These two issues can lead to symptoms like a heartbeat that feels like it's skipping a beat or fluttering, in other words, heart palpitations, a heartbeat that feels too hard or too fast. Now, think about all the times that we've seen her on stream, obviously dealing with some sort of physical issue. And she'll even say, like, I feel like my heart's pounding. It's because she's got some health issues. And it's time to stop being a drug addict and someone who is not taking care of themselves, and bite the bullet, come to some sort of resolution with whoever in your family still is willing to deal with you, and go home. You don't belong in California, Purple's girl. You've known about your health problems, I'm pretty sure, for a long time, and you've been in denial. And what, you think that running away is going to somehow make the health issues go away? No, not at all. Let's keep going. Eye pain, shortness of breath. We've heard a complaint about all those things. Vision changes like astigmatism and extreme nearsightedness. We see that within her. Let's go to the next thing. But Marfan syndrome can affect several other parts of your body, causing other symptoms. For example, physical features of Marfan syndrome may include a long, narrow face, arms, legs, fingers, and toes that seem too long for the rest of your body. I'm not someone who really likes to pick on somebody's appearance, but when you do look at Purple's girl's proportions, she's a bit out of proportion in comparison to the average Homo sapien, the average human. Now, there's a lot. I think she's on the border, on the cusp of Marfan syndrome. I don't think she has it full blown, not like some people do. But I do think that she has it. Absolutely. Crowded teeth, we see that within her. Curved spine, we do see that. Flat feet, that's not something I'm aware of. I've never seen her feet. Joints that are weak and easily become dislocated, I've heard her complain of that. Stretch marks, even without weight changes, that does appear to be apparent within her. Sunken chest or protruding chest, I'm not going to comment on that one. Tall and thin body build, obviously, that's her. All right, let's look at the next thing that I have here. Just give me a moment. All right, let's read this. This is the AI overview from Google in regards to the association or the link between early perimenopause or early menopause and Marfan syndrome. It does exist. There is a potential, though not well documented, association between Marfan syndrome and premature menopause, possibly related to genetic factors or autoimmune issues that can manifest in women with the condition. While not a defining feature, some women with Marfan syndrome may experience early menopause, which can be managed with hormone therapy after consultation with their cardiologist and specialist. Early menopause increases the risk of complications like osteoporosis, but taking hormone replacement therapy can help mitigate these risks, though ongoing monitoring of the aorta is necessary. Now, another reason she might be resistant to getting the medical treatment that she needs and returning to her family and taking life a bit seriously could have to do with her substance abuse issues. She's an active drug addict. Whether you want to attribute it to Adderall, methamphetamine, whatever else it is that she does, any doctor who specializes in early menopause, meaning a woman's doctor, most likely like an OBGYN or a women's specialist, or someone who's a specialist when it comes to Marfan syndrome, the second that they find out that she's an active drug addict, they're going to be like, well, before we can do anything, you got to get clean and sober. Is that what your problem is? Really, Purple's girl? Yes, it is. Again, it does seem like somebody who claims to have a high IQ would be taking a completely different path in life than you are, Purple's girl, whatever you want to call yourself, whoever you are. I don't know why you proclaim to have a high IQ, really. And I'm not going to sit here and judge because I already pretty much know what you're actually about. But how many times have your family members told you all this? How many times? Don't lie now. How many times have your family members told you, hey, you need to start addressing your health issues? Anyone with a high IQ knows health issues take priority over frivolous legal BS. Y'all know how I've been hard on some of the moms within these communities, and I've been like, look, being a parent should take priority over social media. Well, guess what? When you're not a parent, your health should take priority over social media, over legal issues, over all that crap. At least it does if you love yourself. Just saying. All right, let's go ahead and look back at what we were looking at here. Understanding the connection, meaning between Marfan syndrome and early menopause. Genetic factors. While Marfan syndrome primarily affects connective tissue, some underlying genetic pathways involved in Marfan syndrome might also influence ovarian function, leading to premature ovarian failure. In other words, premature menopause. Autoimmune links. There's a noted association between Marfan syndrome and certain immune system abnormalities, which could potentially play a role in the development of premature menopause. Managing Marfan syndrome and premature menopause. Consultation with a specialist. So she needs to go to a specialist. Hormone replacement therapy. She's got to get on that. But hey, you got to get off the illegal drugs first. You got to stop abusing substances that you claim are prescribed to you. Yeah. Ongoing cardiovascular monitoring. So, if you're being monitored when it comes to your cardiovascular um, system, you're really not going to be able to be a drug user, are you? Not at all. Not at all. Let's look at the next thing. Important considerations. Individualized treatment. Treatment plans include hormone therapy, must be personalized and discussed with your healthcare team to ensure safety and effectiveness, especially with your Marfan syndrome diagnosis. Increased risk. Premature menopause carries risks such as infertility, an increased risk of osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, and overall mortality. Something that I want y'all to think about too, something that Purple needs to think about, because, homeboy, I know you listen to almost all my streams at this stage. Do you understand the legal liability that you, Purple, and your dad may incur due to Purple's girl not taking care of herself medically? Do you understand that? What if she drops dead in your condo? What you gonna do? Hmm? You'll have to deal with her family, who could theoretically take you to court. Because as of today, you cannot say that you don't know what's going on, hypothetically, theoretically, with her health. And you know what she's already told you in regards to the various ailments that she may or may not have. So you're incurring some liability there, Drew. Marfan syndrome is progressive. Marfan syndrome is a progressive condition, meaning symptoms can worsen over time. Symptoms vary greatly between individuals. All right, let's look at the next thing. We'll look at this right here. Some signs are easy to see, and this is back on the marfan.org website, the website that has a girl who looks like a healthy Purple's girl on the front page. Funniest thing to me. Some signs are easy to see. Every person's experience with Marfan syndrome is slightly different. No one has every feature, and people have different combinations of the features. Some features of Marfan syndrome are easier to see than others. These include long arms, legs, and fingers. So this is another list of the traits. Tall and thin body type, curved spine, chest sinks in or sticks out, flexible joints, flat feet, crowded teeth, stretch marks on the skin that are not related to weight loss or gain. Another thing I wanted to note, let me see if I have the screenshot. Did we already go over that? Yeah, a long, narrow face. That's very evident within her. All right, now let's go ahead, and I'm sorry I'm kind of breezing through this. I will look at the chat afterwards. I'm just kind of pressed for time right now. Okay, let's go to that next part. All right. This has to do with the treatment, because she's going to have to get treatment. The treatment varies. Treatment includes medications to keep her blood pressure low, eyeglasses and contact lenses, along with certain surgeries. Um, Her blood pressure clearly is not low right now. And when it comes to the substances that she's abusing, it's probably going to get worse over the next few months, especially because at this point, um, she's definitely not looking very healthy. The devices that she would need would be a back brace, glasses, and contact lenses. Surgery, it goes over the various surgeries that would likely be recommended to her, the medications. And see, that's the thing right there. The medications would conflict with her current substance abuse, be they substances that were prescribed to her at some point in time, like the Adderall she claims was prescribed to her, or the street substances like the methamphetamine, possibly cocaine or crack. We don't know what she's on. Even the cannabis would have to be it would have to be monitored by a medical professional. Again, I am not a medical professional. All right, here's some other information in regards to the Marfan syndrome. This has to do with the various types of medical professionals that she would need to be in contact with: orthopedic surgeon, optometrist, cardiologist, cardiothoracic surgeon. She probably wouldn't need a pediatrician because she's no longer a child. Primary care provider, medical geneticist, and an ophthalmologist. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, so I did want to share with all of you, the public, why I feel her best bet would be to return to Ohio for treatment. There are two very reputable hospitals in Ohio that she probably needs to get herself into. And keep in mind that when it comes to people who are dealing with financial difficulties, who do have syndromes such as what we're going over today, there's all kinds of programs to help them. What it really comes down to when it comes to her is a lack of maturity, a level of mental illness, and the substance abuse. That's really what it all comes down to with her as to why she's not getting the proper treatment for what appears to be her afflictions today. She could go to the Ohio State University Medical Center or the Cleveland Clinic. Um, the best hospital within the United States would be the Mayo Clinic when it comes to Marfan syndrome. They have locations in Rochester, Minnesota, Phoenix, and Scottsdale, Arizona, along with Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, she's always talking about how much she likes Scottsdale. Maybe that's where she could end up getting some sort of financial assistance to start getting on the path to good health. But I wanted to go over all this today, and I know I kept it quick just because I don't really want to cover her much anymore. I know I've said that in the past. There have been some things that I've needed to touch on, but don't let this chick fool you anymore. She does have issues, but it's not the issues that she wants people to really realize that she has. Nick knows. The people who have been around her extensively do know. You know who I think really knows about the extensive situation when it comes to her medically? Astra Mom, the woman who she bullies. Astra Mom's in a very vulnerable position because she's a single mom. She's a woman of color, a Black African American woman. I don't know what her financial situation is, but I'll tell you this, Purple Squirrel, you are so ungrateful when it comes to the assistance that Astra Mom granted you and how you're talking about her and stuff. I don't know the nature of y'all's relationship, but what I do know is that you're a jerk, Purple Squirrel. And no one's really going to feel sorry for you anymore because we are figuring out exactly what you really are and what your problems actually are. And again, how many times have people in your family confronted you with this and you've run away? I mean, if you want to run away, keep running away, but stop dragging down other people with you who you con and trick and manipulate into helping you when you have nothing but the intention of turning around and harming them in return. That's who you are. That's the reality. I mean, look at who you've had to align yourself with now, Purple Squirrel. A legit ephebophile. And I hate to say it, but you might be one too, considering your track record with young guys. But not just an ephebophile, a child abuser. 2 child abusers, maybe 3. Why are you okay with kids being abused? Because maybe you can't have any now due to your medical issues that you've neglected taking care of? Is that what it is? So that's about it. I don't feel like talking about this person anymore. I will address the chat very quickly, and then I have to get going. Good evening, Zero's Nightmare. Welcome to the chat, Melissa Turd. I don't know if she's pigeon-toed or not. Let me see what else. No, I did a mass unblock the other day. Pretty much everybody is unblocked. Some people I'm sure will become blocked again, but I did a big unblock. Armstrong says, what? Chain smoking cigs and weed isn't a treatment for cardiac issues? Uh-huh. That picture on that website is spot on. Yeah. Yeah. Do a search for what people with Marfan syndrome look like aesthetically. Well, that's a side effect of the Marfan syndrome. Armstrong says, but amphetamines cure all ailments, according to V. Yeah, well, she doesn't have a medical degree, does she? And clearly her IQ is not as high as she proclaims, being that she is not prioritizing her health above frivolous legal issues. Anything else I want to go into? No. Thank you, everyone, very much for listening today. I'm going to get going. If I have the energy and the time, I'll do a live video stream tonight when it comes to a few things. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow. If not tomorrow, maybe the next day. Whenever. But Menopause, it's a thing. It's real. Early menopause linked to Marfan syndrome. Not a lot of documentation on it just yet, but there is an established connection, an established link. That's about it. And to my critics and my haters out there, I don't care what you say about me at this point. I live a good life. And I'm not like many of you who are in denial of the reality of your substance abuse. I don't have that problem. I have other issues, but not that one. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.